So, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a lot of confusion with this nomenclature. So this is what I want to do. Like this whole thing, you're making it harder than what it needs to be. It needs to be a thought process. So today, we're going to spend the day, we're going to go through the thought process. And every time when I'm doing this, this is how I'm checking it. If you end up on the camera, it's okay. How about front row and center? Getting a little claustrophobic. Okay, so we're going to start with this thought process. Now make sure you leave plenty of room on your paper because you're going to, this whole thing's probably going to end up filled. Alright?
Is it better than the last one?
Huh?
Is it like neater than the last one?
Yeah, that's my goal, is to let you all know that up there is what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
But that is like all over the map and no neatness to it whatsoever.
Yep.
So, can you quit? Just quit. Freaking me out.
I know, that's how we did it. What'd you do? We looked at it like this. Oh, you small.
Alright, so on this.
Bro, don't keep on kicking you. Is that your foot?
So, nomenclature thought process. And the first thing, okay, this number one, this is telling you the first thing you're going to ask yourself. How many elements? So how many elements do you have within that? Whatever that compound, that molecule, what you're looking at, how many of those elements are there? So you're pretty much breaking it down into two situations. The first situation is when there are two elements. That's the first one. And the second one is when there are three or more elements. Okay? Now with this, the first thing we're going to start looking at is if we have two elements. We're going to start with that because I feel like that is the more simplistic version. The whole idea behind this is for you all to use this whole thought process. Every step is questions you're asking yourselves, and the answers to your questions are giving you a flow. So you could technically call this a flow diagram or flow chart, whatever you want to call it. But in this, the goal of it is for you all to be able to look at it, know what you're thinking, answer the questions, and be like, this is how I name it. This is literally how I do every one of these that I give you. So, when you start with two elements, there is a grand central question you need to ask yourself. And this is a dead giveaway. Okay? If there's two elements, so a binary, let's say the first question you're asking yourself here. So, do you have an overall charge?
That looks like a triangle instead of a T. Like triangle. Oh, you have.
So do you have an overall charge? And from this, it's a yes or no. So, I'm trying to figure out how I want to make this. Let's go this way. We'll go this way. I'm probably making this too big. I'm going to need some room. Is that really dropping you all that nuts?
I'm not going crazy. I'm just saying you could have at least made it even.
If yes,
Oh, this is like those tests they used to have on like that 17 magazine, where it's like, you know what I'm talking
I'm just going to
about.
say stop right there because does it look like I've ever picked up a 17
Okay,
magazine?
I'm just saying, it's like they have questions and then they have like these little branches like that. It says if yes, then if no, and then it has like a crap ton more.
Okay, so
It tells you if you're compatible with like your like celebrity crush or whatever. It's weird. It's a teenage girl thing. I figured you'd understand, but it's okay. I'm joking. I'm joking.
All right, so if you have an overall charge, yes, then it's a dead giveaway. Life has become simple. It's a polyatomic.
Polyatomic.
Simple as that. Find the polyatomic.
Polyatomic.
This is already making
Polyatomic. What? I'm already.
All right, if no. So this is in case if no. If it does have an overall charge, then you're looking at polyatomic. If it does not, then you're moving down. You're going to move down to the next question.
Oh boy.
All right? So here is your question. What type of bond and you're going to break from here. So when you're asking yourself what type of bond, I know we learned all sorts of different types of bonds, but we're focused on the generality of two of them. So there are two that we're focusing on.
I'm not gonna triangle. No. Okay.
So there's two that generally we're looking at here. So it's going to break it down from these two. So the first one is ionic. Now, God, please, Lord, we said it yesterday.
I don't forgot.
What makes an ionic bond? How do you know you have an ionic bond? Everybody is just like, ooh. I think you all had it right, but you said different things. Because I heard a metal and a non-metal, and a positive and a negative. Heard all that. It's open.
You know what I mean.
Man, what you gotta make me sign all this stuff for in the middle of the video, Caleb?
You edit it out.
I ain't editing this.
You never know.
Total sick leave. What?
Make him sound awful.
They're already signed.
That one's not.
That one's not.
And you gotta find this one too.
Oh, not my name.
You fill out the dates on the bottom of it.
You don't have to.
No, I don't.
God, shut up. My God.
You know how many times I've signed one of those?
A lot.
Okay, so ionics, they're made of metals and non-metals. So a metal and non-metal. How can you tell whether you have a metal or a non-metal?
Your periodic table.
Periodic table off of the staircase. Over on the staircase, all right, whenever you're looking at it, it starts on the left side of boron, and you go down and over, down and over, down and over, down and over. Simple as that.
It's gonna be my dad's.
I'm gonna see y'all taking the quiz now. All right. So that's if you have an ion. Now the other type of bond that we care about,
None of us.
covalent. Now when you're looking at this covalent, what are covalent bonds made out of?
Non-metal versus
Non-metal and non-metal.
versus
I'm just going to say non-metals on here to save space.
they fight each
We face on two of the trash.
That's a really bad one. Still bad, but better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so covalents are made out of non-metals. It's a non-metal bond into a non-metal. Okay? So, let's start with this covalent first. Okay? So, once you go from the covalent, there's a question you got to ask yourself. Degree. Is it an acid?
Second or both of them, or just that?
Just covalent. This is on the covalent side. We went down here. But you're fine. It's important. So, is it an acid? So you're going to have two answers here. So we're going to break again. So here's what we're looking at. If it's yes, here's the key. It's an acid. But go back to the very beginning. We have two elements. It's an acid with two elements, which means which type of acid is it? Binary acid or an oxyacid? Binary acid. Because it has two. So, if yes, name, let's put it in purple. Name using binary acid rules. Now this is only if you got two elements and it's an acid. How do you know it's an acid? Hydrogen. Starts with hydrogen. Dead giveaway. Okay? Which one of these is an acid?
Lost. Second one.
Second one. Okay? You know it was an acid because it has hydrogen in it. So now let's look at this. Is it an acid? We said yes, we gave the answer to how you're going to name it if it's an acid. Now what if it's not an acid? No. Then how do we name it? Name using covalent prefixes. So if it is not an acid, we're going to name it using the covalent prefixes. And because there's been so much confusion with this, remember the key to this one. You only put the prefix. You always put the prefix on the first one unless it's mono. And you always put the prefix on the second one. Everybody's staring at me, so how do we name this? How many carbons are there?
There's one, but you
One.
don't name it because it's one, right?
That's right, because there's one. Since it's the first element in this covalent bond, then we don't name it with the prefix.
But
We
if
just
it
put
was-
carbon.
If it was, let's see, 2, we wouldn't name that.
We would. Give me a second, I'm going to throw one of those in the video. So carbon, di, because we always put the prefix with the second one. Oxygen, but we remove the ending and add IDE, so dioxide. So carbon dioxide. Now if you break out of this, let's do N2O. What's it called?
Dinitrogen monoxide.
Dinitrogen monoxide.
Forgot Z.
Oh, she's pretty cool.
Okay? Make sure with this part right here, when you're using the covalent prefixes, you will always put the prefix except if you're doing with the first element and there's only one. That's the only case you will never put the prefix. From there on, you always put the prefix. Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So how are we feeling here?
Good.
That's it with the covalent bonds. You're done. So now let's go back. Let's go back to the ionic bonds. Now there's a question you're going to ask yourself with the ionic bonds. I'm going to put it in red. How did I word it before?
Does it have a transition mode?
There you go, yes. Your question, does it have a transition metal? Now, remember, where's the transition metals found?
Stock system.
D block, and what do we use with the D block? Stock system.
I was close.
You were already jumping ahead. You're going actually to where the thought process is leading us.
Sucks is ridiculous.
So in this case, so over here, does it have a transition metal? No. So if it does not have a transition metal, we will name it by the cation, then the anion. That's looking really bad. So if it does not have a transition metal in it, then we'll name it by the cation, then the anion. Remember, the cations come first, they're the positive charges. Anions are second. And then, does it have a transition metal? Yes. Then what do we use if it uses a transition metal?
Stock.
Stock system. Name using stock system. Roman numerals, just as a reminder, in parentheses. Why do we use the stock system? Why do we have those Roman numerals within those parentheses? Because out of all those elements, all those transition metals, they can carry multiple different charges. You can have iron 2, iron 3, copper 1, copper 2.
Hunter Walters, please go to lab 1110.
And all of that, they can carry it except for 3. There are 3 that does not. Here's your 3. First one's silver, which is a +1 charge. Then you got zinc, which is a 2+ charge. And then you all whispered it, scandium, which is a 3+ charge. All right. How's everybody feeling? You feel like this is helping?
Yeah.
I did this over here because the hope is for this to actually stay on this board until Friday. Then we'll erase it.
No, you don't have to. Well, you should have accidentally wrote it in permanent marker. That is awesome.
All I gotta do is write over with the expo and it comes right off.
Or if you use hand sanitizer.
Oh, don't give me my bills.
Right over.
God. I'm gonna come back to school one night unstress it all with Sharpie. Or engrave it on the board like the top or something.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on here for two elements? We're done if there's two elements.
Ow.
Paint it on
I'm
the
looking
wall.
to throw it out the window like that. I'm just joking.
Jenny,
What?
paint
So
it
no
on the
questions?
wall.
Do what?
Yes. Well, you just scrape it off.
What about the floor?
Here?
Yeah. Okay.
What about?
But no, he already gave that.
You already do? Oh.
Yeah, because
just
look,
what type of bond.
I threw this at you on your quiz.
Whoa, what'd you do that?
I gave a lot of people that.
You crushed
You crushed a fish.
I gave CO3. You know why I did that? Because of how many people are going to see CO3 and go carbonate. That's not carbonate. Why is it not carbonate? Two elements. Okay, so I'm over here. Do you have an overall charge?
No.
No. So no. What type of bond? What type of bond is it?
covalent.
It's covalent. So, what type of bond? Covalent. Is it an acid? How do you know it's not an acid?
No hide.
No hydrogen in the beginning. So no, name using covalent prefixes. So, what are we going to name it?
Carbon trioxide.
Carbon trioxide.
So,
That was the correct answer on the quiz. Now, if we change this, and I put a 2 negative, changes everything. Two elements still. Do you have an overall charge? Yes. It's a polyatomic. What's the polyatomic?
carbon.
Carbonate. You see how this is meant to help you flow?
Yep.
Float.
Okay, I want you to use that to your advantage. Alright. So let's go over here now. We're done with the two elements. Let's go to the three or more elements.
Let's use this on our quiz.
So we got three or more elements. There is a dead giveaway. When you have three, there is, let's say there be
There be.
a polyatomic. If you have three or more elements, it's a guaranteed there's a polyatomic in there somewhere and you have to find it. I'm not going to write this down, but I'm going to tell you. If there are 4 elements in there, you're looking at 2 polyatomics. Off your polyatomic list, I gave you one that had a positive charge, ammonium. I actually got it drew right up on the board. NH42SO4. There's 2 polyatomics sitting there, ammonium and sulfate. So it's ammonium sulfate. If you end up with a situation like that, just name the 2 polyatomics. Alright? So, from here, you have 3 different types that you can go to. Okay? So you come from here. And you're going to ask yourself a question. Don't you love how many questions we're asking ourselves?
So,
It helps.
Alright, what is bonded with it? Okay, we're talking what is bonded with that polyatomic here. Alright? So, you have 3 different scenarios that are going to take place here.
ready to take a nap. What?
Wake up.
I cannot. I just woke up from a nap, and I'm ready to take another one.
All right, so we're dealing with 3 different ones.
3 different types of naps. There's the
So the first one. What colors will I use? I will use color red.
use purple. And that light blue.
And two.
Yeah. Screw those ugly colors. I'm just joking. They're just dark. No one likes dark stuff. Except for
You're all about art.
Okay, so anyway, what is bonded with it? If we have a transition metal,
She called me out.
So good.
I'm tired.
can y'all stop fighting?
No, I'm gonna throw a desk at her. Actually, I'm gonna step on her, so I'm like 4 feet taller than her anyway.
Okay, so a transition metal is bonded with it. What do?
You use
Name, using, stop,
Oh, a bunch of nerds.
system. I don't feel like I need to explain it again because it's kind of sitting right there.
You can explain it.
Okay, use Roman numerals within parentheses. Why? Because these transition metals can carry multiple different charges.
I was joking. Everyone's taking me serious today.
Why so
I'm
serious?
so tired.
I can't take you serious with that little shark that's on your phone.
I'll tell you something else.
Pretty sure it's a shark. It's cute.
Is it a shark or is it a dolphin?
It's definitely a shark.
Or a whale.
I don't
It's
know.
a
I can't
shark.
tell now. My eyes are blurry.
Hunter Wiley to the office, please.
All right, so what is bonded with it? In this case, if we have a metal from column 1 or column 2, that's the simplest way I know how to put it.
Is that for that middle one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a metal that comes from column 1 or column 2. That means we're dealing with an alkali metal or an alkali earth metal. You will name the cation first. Then name the polyatomic. Okay? I won't put boxes or anything. Try to make it a little neater. All right. And then your last one.
I can't believe you crushed my fish.
So what is bonded with it? If hydrogen
Mr. Howard, you hate me.
I didn't say
Nope.
you hate me. I said
I don't hate anybody.
I told you you disliked me.
I don't dislike it.
Told you.
So if hydrogen is bonded with it, it's as simple as this. Use your oxyacid rules.
And hydrogen is bonded with what?
The polyatomic.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, I was,
Draw there.
yeah, I was like saying
Remember, 8 to ick. I to us. How's everybody feeling?
Pretty good.
Is that all of it?
That's it.
Okay.
I could have wrote a little bit bigger on this.
What are your questions?
I thought it was gonna be so much bigger, so I wrote small.
I thought we was gonna put something in the middle.
That's what I thought too.
I was saying if I didn't have to put the next page.
Okay.
No.
All right, look at me. You push stuff away. I want you to work with me here.
Acid.
All right, it's an acid. We'll work from here. How many elements? 3. There's 3.
Polyatomic.
Polyatomic. What's the polyatomic?
Is that phosphate?
It's phosphate. PO4. Found the polyatomic. So, what is bonded with it? A transition metal? Is there a transition metal bonded with it?
No, it's not acid.
Is there a metal from column 1 or column 2? Is hydrogen.
Yeah.
Okay, so if hydrogen, use oxyacid rules. All right, use my oxyacid rules. So I'll start with phosphate.
So you don't even worry about hydrogen. Right.
The key with the hydrogen is it tells me it's an acid. With hydrogen there, that's what I'm using this for. Hydrogen is bonded with it. So phosphate, 8 to ick. We'll take the 8 off. Ick, acid. Simple?
Yep. Huh?
It's not.
Acid.
It's an acid.
Over here.
How many elements?
Binary acid.
2. It's binary acid. 2. Do you have an overall charge?
No.
No. Down here, what type of bond? Covalent or ionic?
It's
What type of
Never
bond?
mind. It's ionic, sorry. I thought hydrogen.
Hydrogen's the exception to that rule. It's over on the left side, but it's a non-metal.
oh.
So is it covalent or ionic?
Covalent.
Covalent. That's why I did this. You guys are fine. Covalent. Is it an acid?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Name using binary acid rules. Binary acid rule. Hydro for the hydrogen. Name the element. Iodine. Remove the ending and put it. Acid. Hydrotic acid. See you guys. We'll knock these out some more tomorrow.